dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, the Pisces life. Two fish living in a dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, 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 the Pisces life.
Hello and welcome to the 154th episode of The Pisces Life.
Yes.
Where it feels like February has been just as long as 2020 has been. I don't know what's happening. This Black History Month is going slow.
For it normally to be the quickest month of the year, it is pacing very slow.
Lots of things are happening. So we've had Super Bowl, we've had Mardi Gras. I mistakenly said that the All-Star game is this month. It's not. It is actually next month. It's just a little bit delayed, I think because of the season being delayed overall.
Okay.
But anyhow, we've got a lot of things happening. It was just Valentine's Day. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to bring our attention to. But before I even do that, who's on the other mic? My sis.
It is I, Kai Love. Be sure. Hope y'all been doing well and drinking a lot of water.
Yes.
And keeping yourself safe out here in these streets. It's important. We want you to be safe and vigilant. Just because the noise has quieted a bit, that doesn't mean there ain't no folks in the wings planning. So keep your eyes and your ears open. You know what we talking about.
Listen, they caught somebody today with a loaded AK-47 near the Brigades by the presidential residence. People are clearly excited. We are not going to give this much energy, but we will do our due diligence. The impeachment trial has happened. The two of us are quite disappointed and dismayed, although not surprised, even though we still hoped for decency to win, even though we still hope for morality, even though we still hoped for the people whose very lives were imperiled on 1/6. Sis, I was stunned to see the footage, never before seen camera footage, security camera footage, other angles of this, and the comparison of the blueprints of the building with the little dot, advancing to show where the mob was in comparison to where the representatives were guided to safety. I promise you, they just don't know how close they really came to death.
Mm-hmm.
And even in seeing all of that evidence, the Democrats laid out a stellar, award-winning case.
Mm-hmm.
It was airtight. It was marvelously organized. The orators who presented with just articulation above. The good sister from the Virgin Islands who orated so wonderfully and laid out the case and just let it be known that this is where we are. This is where we are. In the face of all of that evidence, the verdict was returned not guilty.
Yes.
It was a weird thing, so we need to explain some things. This is where Schoolhouse Rock a bill is a bill on Capitol Hill. This is where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
There is a simple majority, and then there is a quorum majority, and those can be totally different numbers. Quorum majority is based on who's present and what meets that threshold for what voting is going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
I still have not seen, sis, and maybe you have, were all the Republican and Democrats present that day to cast a vote? Because during some of the impeachment trial, at least 7 of the Republicans were missing.
Yes. I don't know that to be a fact.
Okay.
What I do know to be true, first of all, the good sis, her name is Stacey Plaskett.
There we go.
What I do know is that the Republican Party is full of cowards and hypocrites and people who would have been pleased if those Democratic elected officials were harmed and killed.
Have mercy, Lord.
Because if they were not going to be pleased, you would think that they would have voted for what was right, what was true.
Speak, sis.
And what was, as you said, articulately laid out in such a way that only a person who was morally corrupt, who has had a hand in what happened on 1/6, skeletons, bones, and bodies in the closet.
Amen.
It's only one who possesses that type of personality, archetype, and characteristics.
I feel it in my chakras. Come on, preach.
Would you have voted against this?
Come on now.
And we as Black people, unfortunately, justice, it rolls past us most days. Like most of us in some way, either directly or indirectly, have experienced injustice. So this not going the way that it was supposed to go wasn't a surprise, as she said, but it continues to concern me greatly that people who are elected to do the right things, because there's certainly the party things, and I'm not mad at you for siding with the people that you side with. You know, both you and I belong to the greatest sorority in the world, that being the Upstate Theta Sorority Incorporated. That don't mean that there ain't no other sororities out there. We just have choice. We just align ourselves with those things and those people that we felt reflected our values, our morals, the right thing to do, upliftment of people, caring for people, leadership, right? But if something was going wrong in the Divine Nine, it don't matter that I'm a Delta. If something is going wrong in the Divine Nine, it is my obligation as a person to speak out for what's right. So when it comes to these Republicans and these Democrats, shouldn't party affiliation take a seat to democracy?
Shouldn't it?
But yet, and lo, see, the audience, y'all can't see me. I got my send it off braids here right now, so you know.
Right? Looking real Cleo-ish.
Looking real Cleo-ish. Shout out to our Pisces sisters.
Yes.
Pisces sister, Queen Latifah.
Yes.
And the success of her new show.
The Equalizer.
The Equalizer, yes.
Baby, she getting in some shots, ain't she? I said, look at Latifah fighting. Look at so much coming out. What? Flavor unit?
Flavor unit. When she jumped on the bike in one of these episodes, I said, what?
I said, she does that in real life. See, she didn't need no stunt doubles.
No.
She said, no, I got this. I rise this in real life.
Yes.
Oh, sis.
But it's just the way that we have to continue to stay vigilant. And that's why I said it at the beginning of this impassioned speech of mine, if you will, soapbox moment, because the enemy is not only among us, the enemy is representing us.
Girl. What did our lovely state representative Ayanna Presley say? The call is coming from within the house, y'all. The call is coming from within the house, y'all. There are so many glaring opportunities that they blew it.
Yeah.
Even after everything was over, if you were listening carefully, because I know I heard it on my TV, Mitch McConnell, the evil Keebler, got up and says, well, he most certainly did incite the... Sir, if he incited, then you were supposed to indict it. You were supposed to convict it.
Yes.
You were supposed to do that, but no, you acquitted it based on that funky technicality. As soon as he pushed it back, because we can't do it this time, we can't, this time. As soon as he did that, I said, he is setting this up for, it's a flimsy argument. It wasn't even constitutional. You all have voted and cleared that hurdle, but here you come right back again. I've been watching, since my spirit got disturbed, I couldn't tune into it, but one day I watched it, one good day, the first day. And the next 2 days, I skim tweets and watch sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much evil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is saturated in evil. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's the only one that's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Operatives, the main devil done left Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But his hench people,
Yes.
because they're coming in all genders and all,
Yes.
situations here.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's sad. It's
It
a
is.
sad day for democracy. It's a sad day for hope. If you putting your hope in government, baby, you better not.
Probably should figure that out for yourself.
Amen. Figure that out for yourself. We encourage you. Get to episode, what was it, 151? Our faith-based episode, baby, get there.
Mm-hmm.
Get there and get you something to feed your spirit.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of spirits, sis, there's some
Yes.
folks that are doing some good things, though.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time always talking about the negative, and that's part of the human spirit. Unfortunately, that's why the negative, most salacious things tend to get the most follows and likes and shares on social media.
Uh-huh.
And the good things never seem to make it that far in the social media timeline. But we have a young brother that's the mayor in Baltimore. What up, Baltimore?
Hey,
what up to my people in Baltimore?
Hey, East Coast indeed.
Indeed, yes,
Big B.
Shawnee,
Hey.
all of the folks. What's up to my folks in the DMV area? And the young brother is coming up with some really good ideas.
Yes.
That young brother being Mayor Brandon Scott. As you know, Baltimore is the cradle of redlining and historical economic injustice. Baltimore is like neck and neck with Chicago when it comes to redlining and historical economic inequities. So it's just interesting what's happening there with young Mayor Brandon Scott. He's joined the mayors for a guaranteed income recently.
Nice.
I want to know what you thought about the guaranteed income.
Listen, first of all, the young brother is on fire for political change. He has come in the door very clear with his agenda, very much with his back supported. So when I saw that he was pursuing this, I was like, I love it. I love to see it. A guaranteed income is a worthwhile issue to explore, especially since this pandemic has shown us that the way we work or the ways we could work virtually, this has just changed what people can do and how people can earn their money.
It is worth exploring. The one thing that I love about the organization that I run to honor my dad is we endeavored when we started the organization to pilot, like we wanted to be the springboard of ideas to help fill gaps. So not taking some of these old rudimentary ideas and trying to put a new spin on them so that we can get funding, but like really trying to do a deep dive and do gap analysis and what is harming and hurtful to communities and people, and coming up with ideas to try out to just see if it makes a difference, right? So I think the guaranteed income is something that is worth exploring and piloting in some places. A few years back, and I want to say it's either in Holland, it's in a European country, where they do the guaranteed income, where every family gets X amount of dollars. They're covered by health insurance. They get a food stipend. And this is all in addition to working. So like the people who work are the ones that actually get the government help as a way to ensure the economy stays strong, that healthcare and illness and disease stays down because people are able to go to the doctor, and that folks are being fed in a way that they don't have to worry about food security, so they can go to work, so that they can go to school, they can be have their minds and their bodies in the most healthy of states. And when I went to that country and came back, I was like, why are we not doing this? Why does capitalism reign supreme in the Americas when there's other places who have demonstrated that if the government takes care of its people, the people will be better, the world will be better, the environment will be better, because people don't have to go out here and scrimp and scrape to still be at the bottom. Like, what a wonderful and novel concept that
Absolutely.
that the working class could actually live a prosperous and fruitful life. What a novel concept.
Wow. What a novel concept. You know, sis, I think the last 4 years, and particularly during the pandemic, all of 2020, this has really just illuminated, the pandemic has illuminated both racial and equity, but financial wealth gaps like never before. Even the haves are struggling. The have-nots were struggling before the pandemic, and it's just getting worse, you know. I had to tell a friend the other day, I said, I'm thankful for many things. I said, and one of them is to be able to find, you know, work that is meaningful to me, that is purposeful. I thank you for that, sis. I do. To feel like I'm making a contribution when it feels like the world is just rejecting Black women, Black people, Black, blickety, blickety. And to know that we're making a difference in the lives of people who look like us, dream like us, hope like us, feel like us, believe like us, trust like us, want the best for us like us. What I loved about, and this was an extension of the story, there's an example in Jackson, Mississippi. Both of us, each of us have roots on my mother's side. My grandparents each are from Philadelphia, Mississippi. And
my mother, her family, my mother was born in Ida Bean, Mississippi. My grandmother in Greenwood, Mississippi. And my husband actually has Mississippi roots as well. His family has a compound in a portion of Mississippi. The city escapes me, but there's a whole parcel of land with several homes on this parcel of land that's part of his family's history.
So one of the successful programs of this guaranteed income happened in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's a partnership between the Springboard to Opportunities and the Magnolia Mothers Trust. And they gave $1,000 per month to Black mothers. Now, we should note that Chicago, Newark, that's Newark, Newark, and Atlanta have formed task forces. Now, Michigan ain't nowhere on the list. We're not there yet. But what I love was, this comes from an article from The Appeal, and it gave an update on the project September 14th of 2020. The Magnolia Mothers Trust is one of several programs across the nation that guarantees payment to low-income families, which are disproportionately families of color. So they had about 110 women that were in this system, and they were given the opportunity to be selected through lottery. So if you qualified, then you were put into a lottery. And if you got the lottery, it truly was the luck of a draw. Data from the first year of the Magnolia Mothers Trust showed the positive effect the regular payments had on families. 75% of mothers reported they were able to prepare 3 meals per day for their families, compared to 32% before the payments began. 85% said they completed a high school education by earning their GED, while just 63% had previously. And 100% of the mothers said they had the money to meet their basic needs. Okay? So this is one of the reasons that something like this is certainly worth looking into. I love it when one of the mothers says in the article, I understand that you have to count it against us. She was saying that there was a net gain, and sometimes you would not qualify for other state benefits that maybe you were receiving. But if lawmakers could just look at it in a real life point of view, they would understand that $1,000 doesn't make us rich, doesn't make us where we can go out and afford luxury cars or whatever. It's temporary, like everything else. And if you're not planning for your future, you'll kind of be lost. I love that. That's why I think that it is worth pursuing. Cities, particularly where poverty is disproportionate in Black communities, Latinx or Alana communities, as we are learning to adopt the language of the Field Foundation. Communities of color, by and large, there are some who suffer more than others. Okay. But programs like this, sis, I really do think could be worthwhile. What do you think?
I think so too. I think that there's an opportunity to use this as a test basis for many different populations within the communities, because we understand that by and large, as you said, in a lot of Alana communities and communities of color, where there's under representation of folks in the workforce, that having a few extra coins to buy food, to ensure that you don't have to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs just to earn a living wage, to spending more time at home with your children, just so that you're not in the workforce. Like, people have to understand how families have been impacted through employment, because you don't have supervision, because you have to work these jobs. And oftentimes these jobs are not located within your community. They are located outside of your community. And if you don't have transportation, then you're adding additional time on public transportation to get to places you need to go. And public transportation is not free, so you got to pay for that too as well. And so I just think that it's something that certainly should be talked about. I know that in Chicago they're forming these task force to talk about it, and I think it has to be done under the right leadership. We are having some really difficult times here right now in Chicago with our mayoral's office and our Chicago public schools.
Public school system, yes.
I don't know if the mayor's office is the right place for this type of discussion or the ownership of it. I really believe that maybe it's something that should happen from the community perspective, maybe with some philanthropic support. Certainly Field Foundation, if you are listening, if you want us to tell the story about guaranteed income, we are here to tell that story. We definitely can hold some focus groups and do some things to see what the people talking about.
That's right. Hey.
But I think it's something that's super worthwhile. We in Chicago, just like in Detroit, just like in Cleveland, I mean, just like in Oakland, I can name, 15 communities quickly that continue to suffer with unemployment, high unemployment, especially among the young adults. So that's 19 to 25, where they are just struggling, especially if they haven't completed school, to find formidable employment. And that is why a lot of communities are violent. That is why a lot of those young folks turn to dangerous career choices in the streets so that they can earn, quick dollars, because no one wants to go to the preparatory program that you have to be in for 3 months and not be able to earn any money. Like the days of that is just over. Like no one wants to go and sit broke. Imagine having to go and and digest information that's new and difficult, and your stomach is growling because you don't even have enough money to buy yourself lunch, and you're supposed to do that for 90 days straight. Like, we have to think differently. Just think how having young people go into training programs where they're getting this guaranteed income, which is the incentive for them to finish, which of course then helps them to get into a pathway into a job, because now they're able to have the skill sets that's necessary. Like, I just feel like there's so many things that this guaranteed income could be a stimulus for, because that's what it is. This is not like what we're saying needs to happen forever. It is a catalytic action while we are trying to ensure that everybody is okay, and that we're also looking out for our homeless people, because some of that Guaranteed income needs to be poured back into our shelters, poured back into our mental health facilities. Like, if people can't earn it themselves, then give it to the people who care for those people so that we can get them back on their feet. I think it's so inhumane. I'm on my soapbox bag today. I think it's inhumane for you to have a homeless person come to your place at night and have to stay there all night. And then at the crack of the morning, they have to get their belongings and leave. It breaks my heart when I was working with a client that was near a homeless shelter, and I would be coming into that area in the morning time, and to see all these people with their makeshift bags and suitcases gathering their belongings so that they can go back out to the street. We just have to do better, sis, generally speaking. And I think the guaranteed income is a solution that is needed, along with some reparations. I mean, we should just...
Amen. Reparations.
Can we just talk about it? If you go listen to our Current Flow episode with Brother Michael Harriet, he did an excellent job of breaking down what reparations means. That it's not that you're paying us for the pain and suffering. We know that we've had pain and suffering. Y'all should have been gave us that money. You know what I'm saying? But it's about the years and decades of unearned income that our ancestors paid into a system but didn't reap the benefits. So
you said it, sis. You said it. You preached a word right there. We have several other pieces of news that have happened that I didn't know about, but I wanted to bring some attention to this podcast. By the time you guys hear it, Valentine's Day has happened. And this was the first Valentine's Day in quarantine. I don't know if people really realize that, or in some form of lockdown, or definitely during the pandemic. Remember, we didn't go into quarantine until March 20th. And so Valentine's Day had me in my feelings for a couple of reasons, but one of them was just the funny memories of being in elementary school and that ritual of how we socialize love or like or generosity, kindness, and showing people special attention on February the 14th as Valentine's Day. I can remember a couple of things, and I wrote about these in my timeline if you're following me, but I wrote about these where I remember just how I would agonize over what I was going to get, especially for the mean girl, you know, or especially for the boy that I like, but I didn't want him to necessarily know that I like him. You know, that type of stuff, girl. And, you know, taking your time. I said, every fat kid got the, you know, some type of elephant, you know, Valentine on it. You know, I thought about the ritual of the economic shaming that happened even amongst mothers. I can remember notes coming home and, you know, if you can afford to buy an additional box of Valentines, please do. Do kids still celebrate Valentine's Day like that in elementary school? Do you know?
These children are a bit more sophisticated than I ever was. And I'm really happy that you're touching on this, because this was a discussion inside of our household. We have an 11-year-old. He'll be 12 in April.
Preteen.
He has a special friend who is a young lady, you know, someone that he plays his little video games with and considers her to be his special friend. And he spends time with his special friend when he's with his mom, because her mom and his mom are friends. And this will now be the second year that he's requested to go get something special for her as his special friend. And so I asked my husband, I was like, I don't know if it's because I was a girl, but I wish I would have perched my mouth together to ask my daddy to take me anywhere at 11 to go get some little boy something special or not. Can you just imagine Poppy Love talking to 11-year-old me, talking about, Daddy, My special friend Robert, I would like to get him some. My daddy is in his grave rolling over mad right now. He like, wait a minute. Who, what? So I asked my husband, I said, is it different because he's a young man than it is for young ladies? Like, is this young special friend's mom taking her daughter to get him something for Valentine's Day? Or like what?
Lord.
I was so confused by this whole space. But to your point, it's uncomfortable, right? And I grew up in the space where you got a card for everybody. You know, they made the little boxes of candy with the cards in it at the Walgreens. So you had 25 kids in your class. So you would get the 2 boxes, because I think it was like, 10, 12, or 15 in each box. You would write out everybody's name in your class, and then everybody would get a piece of candy. Nothing specific, nothing different, but just to show kindness. And then you got something for your teacher. That's what we did in our household. So I didn't necessarily feel the pressure to do anything outside of the norm, because that's just was the norm in my elementary school. But from what I understand, no, even prior to COVID, it was more like everybody bring treats, and then they pool the treats. How kids are socialized around some of these holidays is an interesting conversation. I would love to have our educator people back on so that we could roundtable around what that looks like and what that feels like, and how to manage that, because the background of Valentine's Day is not show kindness, show love. The background of Valentine's Day is chicka chicka bow bow, bow bow doo,
get
chicka
busy,
chicka bow bow. It has a very romantic arc around it.
Grown folk arc around it.
So,
yes, it does.
I would be interested in what that looks like in the formative years, as well as in high school, and how it shows up and all that.
It's amazing to me. I hadn't really thought about it, for a while, but this was a really different kind of Valentine's Day for me. But that was one of my memories. One of the memories I had that I didn't post out there because some of my longtime friends from elementary school follow me, and I didn't want to speak ill of the dead, but it was showing up the truth. This young man in our 3rd grade class, I believe it was, the school used to sell flowers. Baby, he saved all his lunch money, bought as many flowers as he could, and you could get a flower if you let him see your underwear. Yeah. So in the 3rd grade, I can remember back when another incident in that same setting, another 3rd grader kissed another 3rd grader. And back then, this was not, nobody got suspended or anything like that. But this little boy became the kissing bandit. And it's like, now, wait a minute now. Just because, now she gave you a kiss.
You just can't be around here getting kisses from all the little girls.
Wait a minute now. You need permission from folks to get kisses.
Talk about permission.
And in the 3rd grade, I mean, in my household, I was taught to keep all your belongings to yourself, especially your body.
All your belongings.
All your belongings.
You come home with what you left up out of here with.
Whole. You come home whole, okay? But, I thought about how bizarre it really is. I can remember one time I came back in the classroom. I think this might have been 5th grade. And the teacher was making a list, honey. Just making a list and checking it twice. You hear me? Of whose mother had brought what. If it was homemade, if it was store-bought. If it was homemade, it went to this counter. If it was store-bought, it went over here to this counter. If it was late, you might not get that put out. You hear me? And the shame around, some mothers, couldn't do it. I can remember a friend's mom was a single mom, newly divorced. And, things were tight. I didn't know nothing about child support, but look, they didn't have it. And so she had asked my mother, would she mind, when you bake something, would you mind? I'll bring over the little thing to put it in. But will you bake some extra cookies or what have you? And so my mother swore me to secrecy. I literally have not told anybody this story until right this minute, but she swore me to secrecy, and she prepared a different type of cookie than I did. Totally different tin. And, you know, it was just simply put out with the other stuff homemade with her name on it. And I remember the teacher, my mother was worried about me telling it. The teacher was like, oh, so-and-so, your mother never makes it. What? She must be off work this week or today or running late. I mean, it was like a whole conversation. Fifth grade.
Unnecessary conversation.
Unnecessary conversation.
Who cares? Who cares?
Listen.
Like, personally, I love the homemade baked goods because those had all of the typical natural ingredients in it. I mean, I've been an organic, little thing for a while. And so the baked goods normally had the yummy stuff in it versus like the cookies that have been sitting up on the shelf or whatever. Right. So I appreciated when somebody mama showed us some cupcake love, okay. Got us together with our little sprinkles or whatever.
It is appreciated. So adjacent to the conversation about, Valentine's Day and thinking about love, the UN Women tweet, their social media account on Twitter, they sent out this Happy Valentine's Day, love is love. And baby, the internet did not respond well. Ma'am, the internet shut it down. Black women called the ad violent. There was a little cartoon sister just all wrapped up, loving and hugging herself. There was a gay couple, a man of color and another man. They looked to be older. There was a lesbian couple, a woman and another woman, and one was definitely Middle Eastern of some descent. She had on a sari, a wonderful hookup, and appeared to be, maybe a little bit younger and whatnot. Then there was a brother with a white woman, all wrapped up. And then the sister was off to the side, eyes all closed with her natural hair, just loving herself, rubbing and hugging her arms and just looking so happy. When I tell you, the sisters let them have it, which brings me to this article from CNN. Did you know that it is Single Awareness Day, the day that we also celebrate Valentine's Day?
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, who made up this holiday of sorts?
Listen, sis. This comes from CNN Health. They did an article about this. This is from a US and European database. They conducted interviews to examine trends in singlehood and what makes some singles happy, finding that for some, happiness was a choice lifestyle or something they came to accept. There's always a sting in there somewhere, The fact is that many societies see tremendous growth in the single population, and we need to change this image we have that being single means you are frustrated, less worthy, or abandoned, said Kisloff, who is the author of the research presented in his book, Happy Singlehood, The Rising Acceptance and Celebration of Solo Living. He goes on to talk about how singlehood is really popular in countries like Japan, Italy, and Sweden. There are ways to turn feelings of loneliness into the ability to feel empowered and all of these wonderful things. So there's research that says that there are some benefits. Folks are out here happy and single now. It's time to focus on you. Do what you need to do. And then there's also, this one comes from your neck of the woods, from the Chicago Tribune. This is also, and I had no idea that this existed, but this is Black Introvert Week. Did you hear about this? You see the Black Introvert Week. Did you hear about this? Yes. You see what I did there? It's a time for quiet folks to toot their own horn. Thanks to Jerry Bingham, who created the Hush Loudly podcast. I can't wait to hear it. I didn't have a chance to hear it yet. But she wants to make people feel comfortable with admitting that they're an introvert. She's a South Shore resident and self-professed introvert, according to the article. And she has a passion project that is all about creating a community that celebrates the introvert, or as Merriam-Webster describes it, as a reserved or shy person who enjoys spending time alone. This is her quote. I think society has made us feel like it's not okay to be an introvert because we live in a society that rewards extroversion, she said. The more you talk, the louder you are, the more critical you are. Look at social media. It's like you're rewarded for that behavior and all of those tactics to get your word out. Yet if you're a quieter person, your delivery is not valued as much. Sis, jump in here, honey.
I too have introverted ways. I'm a forced extrovert because of things I have to do in life. Sometimes I just have to be out front, and a lot of times I gotta be talking to the people while I'm doing it. So I understand that there's a space of celebration for introversion. I have an introvert t-shirt. It's one of my favorites. I'm excited about the opportunity for others who are introverted to find community, right? Now, by community, meaning we don't want to be in the same place at the same time, but that there are others like us so it doesn't feel like there's something wrong. But there are so many other people who are tapping on the introversion title, and it's really a pivot from loneliness. So you've been lonely for so long, then you say, okay, well, I'm just introverted. That's the reason why no one's in my life, or, I don't have, dating options, or, whatever the case may be. We understand that loneliness and isolation changes your mental makeup, where you actually start to believe that you don't need people and you become reclusive. And a lot of that is probably happening in this pandemic.
I bet.
So I understand that there is a space for the introverts to live and to exist. But even those of us who prefer the smaller crowds to the bigger crowds, even those of us who prefer the quieter spaces to the, raw spaces, even those of us who avoid the noise on social media and like to just kind of move around in groups and our little small groups with our people, there's still some level of connectivity. And so I am just concerned that there are people who are framing introversion as isolation and being alone, when it's more like periods. It's not a constant. There's an ebb and flow to being introverted, where at some points you do still have to be extroverted. I know a lot of people who manage the balance of both, depending upon what they do for a living, depending upon what role they play in their family, depending upon what role they play with their, personal relationships, their friendships and others. So I don't know, sis, I don't know, but I would be a hypocrite if I was like, don't test it out, sis, because I just said piloting is the way to go. So go, sis, and figure it out, and we will see what you find out about it.
Well, listen, the last day to get in on this is, it's Monday through February the 15th, so it goes all week. So it must have started the 7th. I apologize, we're just now finding this because they were so quiet. I didn't know what was going on. But Black introverts, if you get a chance, follow the hashtag Black Introvert Week. Hashtag Black Introvert Week, so that you can catch up. Introvert resources are shared, panels and discussions were had, things happen by Zoom. And this is a quote from Bingham, the organizer. Black Introvert Week, which is deliberately a part of Black History Month, is a way to acknowledge and celebrate this smaller segment of introverts who are already misunderstood, but even more so with the intersectionality of both introversion and race. Black introverts can be misunderstood because the majority sometimes isn't sure what to make of us, Bingham said. If we aren't wearing our hearts on our sleeves and aren't living our lives out loud, they are unable to read us. So they wonder if we're engaged, if we're a team player, if we like them, if we can be trusted. See, it's that last part for me. And I felt judged too. I did. I felt judged. No, I'm just kidding. I have times when I'm quiet, but it's interesting though, when I am quiet, people perceive it as an attitude. People perceive it as I'm mad at them, so I'm not saying anything to them. And it's like, I'm just busy, or I'm just chilling. You know, only children that are only adults grow up to be only adults. That's usually how that happens. You know, we have to take solace. Now, when I was in a relationship, my man understood. Now, if I'm in this bathroom, that means that I'm taking a self-imposed timeout. Doesn't mean that you need to do anything. Just means that I need to recalibrate because my only child syndrome is possibly flaring up. And the only antidote is to get on to thine self for a few minutes.
To thine self. I'm the only girl, how I grew up, and now in my adult life. Sandwiched between two gentlemen with the same name. One Big James, one Little James. And sis be needing a timeout. And sometimes the bathroom is the safest space. But I'm an early riser, and I'm thankful for that because our biorhythms are opposite. They stay up late. I go to bed early. So when they're still asleep, I can get up at 4 or 5. I can do my workouts. I can do my yoga. I can do my meditation. I can light my candles. I can listen to my music. I could do whatever I want to because it's going to be 3 hours before they rustle up. Exactly. And that's so necessary because I'm just used to having periods of solace and quiet. And they tease me all the time. It's like, you could sit in here all day and not turn on nothing. Not even a light. I'm like, I don't need it. Like, I can just focus, read. I can do whatever I need to do. Light my candle, keep it moving. And they're like, that is so weird. Like, with the solace is comforting because the world is noisy, child. And when you're busy out here in the world, having a little piece of quiet in your little corner is welcome.
It is. I'm learning to be more comfortable with silence. I'm not comfortable with it. There's something about it I discovered in therapy that reminds me of death for some reason. And so I don't like silence, but I am learning to be quieter. I'm learning to mute the TV. Maybe the light is still on, you know, from the TV, but to mute it so I'm not hearing it. So I feel like there's action or movement about, I guess. Somebody pointed out, one of my exes said, how do you meditate and be on your yoga mat and you listening to Tupac? Like, I thought the whole idea was to get into Zen. I was like, Zen space, not a, you know. I mean, I don't know. I find the hip hop with my yoga poses just does something for me. I don't know. And then there are some times when I do want the, you know, cymbals and the gongs going or whatever that spa music is, except for the ones that have the trickling water in the background. That one always makes me want to go tinkle. So I don't like that one too much.
Right. No, that I can't get into that. Like, I like the chimes and the bowls and all the rest of that. I listen to a soundtrack that actually helps to transform waves in your head to keep your sinuses clear. And I'm all into that, but in moderation, you know, like 20 minutes, then I'm gonna need to turn that off and like stop it. Cause then it's like my head becomes the memory foam of noise.
I like that description.
And it's just like, I'm like, I'm like, no. Oh my goodness. What's this?
Girl.
Per usual.
I'm telling you.
Per usual.
Oh, have we reached that time?
We have reached that time.
What?
Yes, sis. We've went around the world and back. We've
Oh my
solved all the
goodness.
problems.
This was a good one. Yes, we have. People need to listen to us. Get that 1,400 out
Please.
here.
And thank you.
We're not forgetting that you all said we're going to get 2,000 recurring payments. I was led to believe that during the election time.
Yes.
I was. That's what helped secure my vote. I ain't gonna lie.
We require an answer because under the previous administration, they was able to get out 2 payments within the year. You know, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just trying to say something. And the something that I'm saying is that I know that people are hurting and people require this stimulus because they need to keep themselves together. We are just trying to keep ourselves together. And
that's the title of this episode, Keep Ourselves Together.
We need that to come to help because people require it. It's not that they want it. It's that they require it. They require it.
Yes.
So we just gonna put some good energy out there for the Biden-Harris team and hope that they move in the right direction.
And fast, real quick. Real quick.
Well, it's been yet another edition of the Pisces Life. We are thankful for all of you who listen. Just a quick reminder that Survivance is coming. March 1st, our site is going live. Our call for stories coming through. We need y'all to submit your stories, share with the world what this time has been for you. And we're thankful for the opportunity again with the Field Foundation to be able to do this very important storytelling work.
Yes.
Sis.
Yes.
This is amazing that we was able to cover such good things today. And
yes, we did. We did the Lord's
and I'm
work.
thankful for your partnership. We do good work.
We do, girl.
So, if they're looking for you, my sis, where can they find you out here in these social media streets?
They can find me in these social media streets, but not on these real streets with all this winter across this world here. Let me tell you something. The pandemic is happening. Y'all won't stay in the house? Here come the snow to help you out. Texas got snow. Louisiana got snow. Mississippi got snow. Atlanta got snow. Baby, there's snowing everywhere. Including Chicago and Detroit.
Everywhere.
Since they said we're going to get 7 to 8 inches. I said, what?
We've already had that times 3. Like,
it's melted 8 times now.
So over it.
Oh, they can find me at IamJustLetitia, LETITIA. And sisters, they are looking for you. Where can they find you at?
They can find me doing my very level best to not bless out these Republicans who basically continue to commit treason, in my opinion. But and being introverted and isolated so that maybe that doesn't happen. Since they trying to get put in jail. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or the real. You know what I'm saying? We're going to just get it together over here. You can find me on Twitter at Kai Loves You, KAILOVESU, or on Instagram, just add a 2 to that, Kai Loves You 2. For all of our episodes, follow us on SoundCloud. You can go to our Facebook page. All of our episodes are posted there. And certainly if you have a question, suggestion, comment, we would love to hear from you. So inbox us, comment under those posts, and we'll certainly get back to you. Thank you so much for listening. We are out of here, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
2 fish living in a dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life. 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 The Pisces life.